Let's bring in Nick Wright, co-host of First Things First on Fox Sports 1, and subscribe to What's Right with Nick Wright on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. What are you hot on today?
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Thank you for the podcast and YouTube show plug, along with the, surging television show. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk NBA Finals with you. I heard what you were saying about Jokic. I agree with Paulie. Jokic did used to be out of shape. He no longer is. He's still incredibly unathletic, but there are things I keep hearing, for example, how untalented the Miami Heat are. That may or may not be true, but if it is true, it means we overvalue talent or we misevaluate talent, because what the Miami Heat do is find a way to win. Did you know the Heat lead the NBA in playoff victories over the last 4 years? Think about that. The Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler and fringe all-star Bam Adebayo. And then on a similar note, Jokic, he's obviously unathletic, but he has solved offense as much as a player can solve it. And I guess we're splitting hairs. The most dominant offensive player, Steph or Jokic, but it's clearly one of the two of them.
Who would you side with there?
Historically, obviously, Steph. Right now in the moment, it's Jokic. Right now, listen, and I had been a Jokic, call it critic or skeptic, any of those things. But my biggest complaint was we were not making him go through the steps we made everyone else go through before they were anointed the best player in the league and multiple MVPs, damn near 3 straight MVPs. The rules have always been you can get to a point through regular season play and then a totally different place through postseason play. And this year, even if they don't win the title, he has gotten to that place through a dominant postseason. Now, what I do think is, going into the playoffs, I would have said Giannis is the best player in the league. He lost to Miami, so everyone stripped him of it. Jokic is the obvious heir apparent. If Jokic also loses to Miami, I don't know that Giannis should be penalized because he did the order of operations. If Miami beats them both, Giannis might retain the crown, but that's because Giannis is a dominant defensive player and Jokic is limited on that end.
Well, I think sometimes, we're guilty of style points. Steph gives us style points. There's guys who give us style points. Zion, he's exciting when he plays.
Sure.
He's exciting when he plays. What's the result? With Joker, he doesn't have style points, but he's great.
I think that was used against Giannis as well, though. If you remember, we had people arguing Giannis, Giannis versus Anthony Davis was a debate AD won for a while. Giannis versus Kevin Durant is a debate Durant in some corners still wins because Giannis doesn't have the bag. Giannis doesn't have the quote-unquote skill. But up until this year, the game 5 of that series against Miami, obviously very rough for him at the end, his lack of a jump shot or his hit-and-miss free throw shooting had never really cost him since he had become this fully realized version of himself. My concern on Jokic was in a playoff series when instead of running your offense, you hump mismatches and you get the worst defender in a screen and run pick and roll, is he going to be able to hold up? And the answer has been resoundingly yes. He has been an adequate defender and a dominant offensive player. Can we talk a bit about the when he scores a bunch, they lose thing?
Okay.
All right. So I actually think there is a ton of history backing that up, not involving him necessarily. So his 4 highest scoring playoff games of his career, they're 0-4. Do you think it's fair to call Jokic a point center?
Yes.
Okay. Isaiah Thomas, the sprained ankle game, his only 40-point career playoff game, they lost. Isaiah Thomas's 5 highest scoring career playoff games, losses. Steve Nash's 3 highest scoring playoff games, losses. Stockton's 3 highest scoring, losses. Magic's 3 highest scoring, losses. There absolutely is something to when the guy who gets everyone involved has to take on the scoring burden, it can have downstream effects, not only on your offense, but what made Isaiah, the original Isaiah, so brilliant is he understood this offensive possession might not be the most efficient if I go through Rick Mahorn, but I get the best version of Rick Mahorn if he knows he's going to be able to touch the ball occasionally. If Michael Porter Jr. had gotten a bunch of clean looks and made them early in game 2, I think his defense would have been better later in game 2.
Sure.
So I know Spo tried to dismiss it. I absolutely think it is their strategy, and it is a smart strategy of let Jokic create 55 points where it is 45 him scoring, 10 him assisting, as opposed to 30-25 splits. And I think that's how the Heat win the title.
Well, the Heat win the title if Bam Adebayo keeps Jokic honest both ends of the floor.
Yep.
Because if you look at what Bam did guarding him, last game, Jokic scored, I think, his field goal percentage was 46%. Everybody else, when they guarded him, it was 77%. 70. So if he keeps him honest at both ends, then they can win this thing.
Well, they also, with Bam, I don't know, I'm sure you noticed, you have a very, refined basketball eye. But they had Bam doing some of the point center stuff, bringing the ball up the court, which is an odd way. It's kind of like the offensive equivalent of when someone guards Steph the moment he brings the ball in. It's like he's not going to turn the ball over in the backcourt, but it wears on him a bit. Yeah. When the guy Jokic is guarding is initiating the offense, it gives him no time to rest. Even if he's not going to be out there, he's got to be locked in, paying attention. And so the interesting thing to me is, what does Miami do in the 8 minutes a game Bam has to sit? If he gets in foul trouble, they're cooked. They got no chance. Zeller is not playable. They have another 7-footer named Omer Yurtseven. He's not going to play. The other 6'10" guy is Nikola Jovic, the rookie. He's not ready. And then they do have a guy your age, Dan.
Kevin Love.
No. UD.
Udonis Haslem.
Udonis Haslem. Dust him off. Let him get 90 seconds. I don't think 3 hard fouls.
He doesn't
let him do it.
He doesn't have shorts underneath his warm-ups.
Oh, let him do it. Could you imagine UD if the swan song of his career is 2 minutes of hard fouls on the league MVP?
I love it. Sure.
Because you can't play Zeller.
No.
And I believed at one point the Heat were playing Zeller as a psychological ploy against their opponent. I maybe told you this, I'm not sure. That it's like, all right, hey, guys, we're going to give this premature balding white guy with a mask 8 minutes a night just because it naturally is going to make the other team take us less seriously, and we're going to take advantage. But at this point, it's run its course. It's just run its course.
He's Nick Wright, co-host of First Things First on Fox Sports 1, and subscribe to What's Right with Nick Wright on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks. Who do you think leaked the story that Kyrie was recruiting LeBron to Dallas?
Oh, this is so fascinating. There's so many. This is a really fascinating piece of journalism, the Chris Haynes story, the full Chris Haynes story. So now I understand somehow that in some quarters, they're like, oh, obviously LeBron did this or Clutch did this. I don't see, of the candidates for leaking, I don't see what they had to gain from this. But there are pieces of this that I think came from all different sources. So I think the genesis of this report is Kyrie, not because he thinks LeBron is going to get bought out by the Lakers and sign with the Mavs for the minimum, because that can't happen. And the Mavs are not going to be able to trade for LeBron. I think Kyrie wanted this out there to engender support from the Mavs to give him a max contract. Look, guys, I'm already recruiting. I'm all in. You get in the Kyrie Irving business, maybe not this year, but in a future year, maybe you get in the LeBron James business. Maybe you get in a different superstar business, because no matter what the media thinks of me being Kyrie, other NBA players like me. I'm very popular. People like my game. So this is, I think, Kyrie trying to look like a good employee. But the other most interesting part of that story was in the initial write-up of it, Chris Haynes wrote, the Mavs had discussions prior to the deadline about trading for LeBron James. That is before when the Lakers were floundering. That's what was written.
Yeah.
I and then others pointed out, literally ineligible to be traded. Because of when he signed his contract, he literally couldn't be traded. They could have offered Luka and 30 first-round picks, and the Lakers would have had to say, sorry, not allowed. Haynes then added a line to it that said they left in, they had discussion about trading for LeBron, comma, despite the fact they were not able to. So that's a weird meeting. It's like, hey, guys, I got an idea to trade for LeBron. Someone else like, yeah, let's trade for LeBron. And then somebody in the back who took Bobby Marks' CBA course is like, excuse me, pardon me, not allowed. They're like, okay, good meeting. So here is what's noteworthy. That couldn't have come from Kyrie because that is reporting on something that happened before they even had Kyrie. So why was that in the story? Here's my hypothesis. The Mavs leaked that part of it to engender loyalty from Luka. Look, man, we're trying everything. We will do anything to make this team better, up to and including trying to trade for players who are not trade eligible. We just want you to be happy. So I think there's a lot of, kind of signaling going on through this reporting. But ultimately, I think Kyrie's going to be a Mav on a more expensive contract than I would pay, and LeBron's going to be a Laker next year.
Yeah, but why don't you leak a trade rumor that has to do with somebody you can actually acquire?
Yeah, I think that was a misstep. I got to tell you, I think that was
like Dame Lillard.
Sloppy.
Hey, we're trying to get Dame Lillard. Okay, there's validity to that.
I think it was, again, I'm just speculating here, and maybe this is poor form by me. Maybe I shouldn't do this. I think it's because Luka has talked about that LeBron was his idol, that this was the player he most looked up to, and LeBron is like the only superstar in the league that carries that level of weight, along with Luka recognizing it would still be my team because he's so old. You know what I mean? Like if you say Dame, there are people out there like Dame's better than Luka. I think they're wrong. But so but the problem was, of course, he was not eligible.
But here's the thing with Luka. If I'm Luka and they go, oh my God, they're trying to get my idol here, and then you realize that your organization doesn't know that they can't get LeBron, then
that's a mistake.
Yeah.
You look foolish. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I think it was, it was said in a reporter's ear without necessarily thinking it was going to become one of the major tent poles of the story, and then have jerks like me be like, literally can't do it, and now you're kind of boxed in. Again, I'm speculating here. I don't know.
What happens tonight?
The Heat win, man.
Okay.
The Heat are going to win the title. Dan, and
your favorite player, Reggie Miller, said the Heat in 6. Just letting you know, Nick.
Reggie Miller. So here's an interesting thing, and then I'll get to the game. Put Reggie and Jimmy's careers side by side.
Yeah, regular season, postseason. We've talked about
it's really interesting. Okay, so you guys talked about it. My apologies.
Yeah, we have.
But like the All-Star appearances, the All-NBAs,
sure,
the playoff stuff, it is very similar. And I've maybe been a little harsh on Reggie on this show to kind of needle you.
Yes,
I have. Listen, I've said this privately, but I'll say it publicly. Reggie is the best 18-3-3 guy in league history, and I don't even think it's deniable. Now,
you're such
to the Miami. I'm just what he is.
You're like Stephen A. Hey, you're gonna call Joker a fat, tub of lard.
Well, that reference is dated. Those 18-3-3 are etched in stone. Those ain't changing, buddy. He ain't going back. But
come postseason, you don't want to mess with Reggie.
No, listen, of course. And there's a lot of legend that comes with having a legitimate 7-game series with Jordan, one of only 2 guys to do it, and having a legitimate blood feud with one of America's greatest filmmakers. That, those things carry a lot of weight. Now,
and he got into a fight with Michael Jordan. He wasn't afraid of Michael Jordan.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to take any more shots at Reggie Miller. I'm just not going to do it. You're trying to bait me.
No, I'm not. No, I'm trying to prevent you from embarrassing yourself.
I'm not embarrassing.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Be nice. Try it.
I have a lot of respect for the 79th greatest player in the history of the NBA. A lot. Now, if I may resume.
Final 30 seconds. Let's go.
The Heat are going to win the title, Dan. And Jimmy Butler is going to be on stage holding the Larry O'Brien and the Bill Russell, or maybe Bam's holding the Bill Russell. And that's going to be the image. And the next morning on sports television, someone's going to give a list of top 5 contenders for next season, and the Heat aren't going to be on.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, and we're going to have this chyron on the bottom of our TV shows. The Miami Heat champions, but were they any good? Question mark. I mean, there is nothing this team's going to be able to do to gain people's respect up to and including beating the Bucks.
The same with
Celtics,
the Nuggets.
And then the Nuggets.
If the Nuggets win, it'll be Nuggets win title. What are the Lakers' chances next year?
Well, no, but people understand the Nuggets are awesome. They might be boring, but people know they're awesome. People don't think the Heat are awesome. That's a different. You and Michael Malone can complain that, I'm sorry, where we spend more time talking about Tom Cruise than Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, but look at the filmographies. Give me a break. That's what America is. I'm sorry that Keeping Up with the Kardashians outrates Downton Abbey, but that is society. Don't argue with the consumer about what they want. Stop that, Michael Malone and Dan Patrick.
I'm not saying anything other than you guys fall victim to let's talk the Cowboys and the Lakers every single day.
And I'm telling you, first of all, haven't talked to the Cowboys. Talked to them yesterday. Prior to that, haven't talked to them in 2 months. Third of all, the Lakers are interesting. The Lakers are interesting. They were the 13th seed. They made the conference finals. They have the greatest player of all time. They're interesting.
What does Micah Parsons think of the Live Tour? That's what we're going to bring up later on today on First Things First.
Okay, you know what?
What's LeBron? What's LeBron think of Jay Monahan as commissioner moving forward?
You know what? Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
We all do our own thing.
I know.
Everybody.
I know, but you were just criticizing me because I brought up the Nuggets there, and you said, you and Michael Malone, and I call him Mike, by the way.
Well, you're not supposed to call him Mike.
I know, but I do. Mad. But I do.
Oh, you do? Okay,
no,
that's
I
fine.
don't. I don't. It's
all right, sorry, we're late.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
See you later. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
All right, that's First Things First. That's Nick Wright. Subscribe to What's Right with Nick Wright on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. I don't know if we solved anything, but then we rarely do.